If you found this moment, pause for a second. Not because of superstition, not because of coincidence, but because something subtle has already shifted. There are moments in life that are not chosen by the mind, but by alignment. This is one of them. Long before you arrived here, a movement had already begun around you. Quiet, unseen, precise. Wealth does not always announce itself with noise. Sometimes it approaches as recognition. There is a difference between wanting abundance and being approved for it. Desire is common. Approval is rare. What you are experiencing now is not motivation, nor hope, nor imagination. It is confirmation. Heaven does not rush. Heaven waits for readiness. And readiness is not measured by effort alone, but by internal capacity, the ability to hold, sustain, and direct what is coming without collapsing under its weight. You may have felt it recently, a strange dissatisfaction with survival, a growing intolerance for limitation, a silent knowing that the life you have been living is no longer proportional to who you are becoming. This discomfort is not rebellion, it is expansion. When the soul outgrows the container, pressure appears, not to punish, but to signal that a new structure is required. Angelic intelligence does not interfere randomly. It responds to thresholds. There is a moment when persistence becomes permission, when endurance becomes evidence. When unseen observations conclude, this one is ready, not perfect, not free of doubt, but ready. Wealth at its core is not money. Money is a symbol, a material language that responds to identity. What is being activated now is not currency, but authorization. An internal elevation that allows external resources to recognize you differently. This is why some people work endlessly and remain stuck, while others seem to step into streams that open naturally. The difference is not luck. It is alignment between identity and allowance. You were not overlooked. You were prepared quietly. While others were learning how to obtain, you were learning how to withstand. While others were chasing outcomes, you were being shaped internally, sometimes through loss, sometimes through delay, sometimes through solitude. None of it was wasted. Every moment was data. Every challenge was calibration. Angels do not bring wealth to entertain desire. They bring it to fulfill assignment. There is something you are meant to build, move, support, or influence that requires resources beyond what you currently hold. The rise is not about status. It is about scale. What you carry cannot remain small forever without distortion. You may not have seen visible proof yet, but approval always precedes manifestation. First comes the internal shift, then perception changes, then decisions begin to reorganize, then doors that once resisted start to respond. This is the order. If you are listening to this now, the first phase is already complete. Notice how certain fears no longer dominate you the way they used to. Notice how you are less willing to betray yourself for comfort. Notice how your tolerance for chaos has decreased, not increased. These are signs of elevation. Lower levels survive disorder. Higher levels require clarity. Heaven has not approved your rise because you asked loudly, but because you stayed standing when it would have been easier to shrink. Because you did not become bitter. Because you did not close your heart. Because you kept integrity even when no one was watching. Wealth responds to coherence. What you are internally must match what you are asking externally. This is not a promise for the distant future. It is an announcement of a process already in motion. You are not late. You are not behind. Timing is not a race. It is a sequence. And your sequence has reached a new phase. Remain present. Do not rush the unfolding. Awareness itself is a form of readiness. And right now, awareness is expanding within you. Before wealth expands externally, something must dissolve internally. Not effort, not discipline, but a silent block that once served you and now limits you. Many people assume their financial obstacles are circumstantial: economy, opportunity, background. These are surface explanations. The true block is usually deeper and far less visible. At some point in your past, you learned that receiving came with risk, that abundance invited loss, that visibility attracted judgment, that having more meant losing connection, safety, or belonging. These conclusions were not conscious decisions. They were survival adaptations, and they worked for a time. The subconscious does not speak in logic. It speaks in protection. If at any moment it associated expansion with danger, it learned to cap growth automatically. This is why progress may have felt inconsistent, moments of acceleration followed by sudden stagnation, not because you failed, but because an internal guardian applied the brakes. Angelic intervention does not bypass this system. It communicates with it. And the first step is revelation, not exposure, revelation. A gentle unveiling of what has been silently operating. You may recognize it now, a pattern of almost. Almost enough money, almost stability, almost breakthrough. Always just short of overflow. This is not punishment. It is precision. The subconscious was keeping you within what it believed was safe. But safety is not the same as alignment. Here is the shift occurring now. The definition of safety inside you is changing. What once felt dangerous is beginning to feel necessary. What once felt irresponsible is beginning to feel aligned. This is not recklessness. It is maturation. Angels work by updating internal permissions. When the inner guardian understands that expansion no longer threatens your identity, it relaxes its grip. And when that happens, reality reorganizes quickly. Notice how certain beliefs feel weaker lately. Stories you used to repeat no longer convince you. Excuses feel hollow. Old fears sound outdated. This is evidence of an internal rewrite already underway. There is also a subtle invitation happening here. Not spoken aloud, but felt. An invitation to witness yourself differently. To acknowledge that you are no longer who you were when those limitations formed. That you have outgrown the version of you that needed to stay small to stay safe. This recognition matters. Awareness is the signal the subconscious listens for. When you see the pattern without judgment, it loses power. When you name it internally, it dissolves faster. You may feel drawn to express this realization, to articulate it, to externalize it in some way. This is not accidental. Expression anchors awareness, and awareness accelerates release. The block was never about money. It was about permission, and permission is being restored now. Nothing needs to be forced. Nothing needs to be proven. The moment you stop fighting the block and start understanding it, its job is complete, and once its job is complete, it steps aside. When an old identity collapses, it does not shatter loudly. It dissolves quietly, one belief at a time, one reaction at a time, one choice at a time. You may not even notice it happening until you realize you no longer respond the way you used to. This is reconstruction. The identity that struggled was real. It protected you. It adapted. It endured. But it was never meant to be permanent. It was a bridge, not a destination. And now, something within you understands that continuing to operate from that identity would require shrinking your future. A new identity is not built through affirmation alone. It is built through congruence, through decisions that align with expansion even when the outcome is not guaranteed, through self-respect replacing self-sacrifice, through clarity replacing urgency. Wealth does not flow toward need, it flows toward coherence, toward those whose internal narrative matches the frequency of responsibility, stewardship, and grounded confidence. Notice how your attention is shifting. You are less reactive, more discerning, less interested in proving. More interested in positioning. These are markers of an internal upgrade. The new identity does not chase money. It recognizes it. It understands that money is not a reward for suffering, but a response to value alignment. This is why desperation repels abundance, while calm certainty attracts it. You are learning to hold more without gripping, to desire without desperation, to plan without fear. These subtleties matter more than effort ever did. Angelic reconstruction is not dramatic. It is precise. It removes distortions first. Guilt around having more, fear of being seen, anxiety around stability. Then it installs neutrality, then confidence, then authority. Authority does not shout. It settles. You may notice that you are no longer impressed by surface success. You are drawn to sustainability, to systems, to longevity. This shift alone changes everything, because wealth that lasts is built by those who think beyond the moment. The old identity asked, "How do I survive?" The new identity asks, "How do I steward?" This is the turning point. Stewardship attracts support. Support multiplies resources. Resources expand impact. Impact confirms purpose. Purpose stabilizes wealth. This is the loop you are entering. Nothing external needs to change yet for this to be real. Identity precedes evidence, always. Let the reconstruction complete itself. Do not rush it. Do not compare it. What is forming within you is tailored, not generic, and it is irreversible. Alignment is where the unseen becomes practical, where internal shifts begin to influence behavior, decisions, and direction. This is where wealth stops being an idea and starts becoming a structure. The most important adjustment happening now is not what you do, but how you choose. Choices reveal identity, and your choices are becoming quieter, more deliberate, more strategic. You may feel less urgency to act and more clarity about when not to. This restraint is not hesitation. It is discernment. Wealth responds to discernment because it protects itself. Notice how you are naturally drawn to simplify, to remove distractions, to focus energy instead of scattering it. This is alignment in motion. Focus creates channels. Channels carry flow. Another shift, your relationship with time. You are beginning to value long-term positioning over short-term relief. This alone separates accumulation from expansion. Those who rush consume. Those who align compound. There is also a subtle increase in self-trust. You are less dependent on external validation, less reactive to opinions. This internal stability is magnetic. Opportunities sense it. Without forcing anything, you may find yourself engaging differently, speaking with more intention, listening more carefully, choosing environments more consciously. These behaviors signal readiness. Engagement itself becomes alignment when it is intentional. Attention is currency. Where you place it determines what grows. Even small acts of conscious participation reinforce the new identity. The more you interact from this grounded state, the more the environment responds. Algorithms, systems, people, all reflect coherence. You do not need to announce your transformation. It will be recognized. Alignment is visible without explanation. Continue to show up where resonance exists. Withdraw from what drains clarity. This is not avoidance, it is calibration. Wealth alignment is less about chasing and more about positioning yourself where flow already exists, and you are learning how to sense that flow intuitively. This is how momentum builds, quietly, steadily, inevitably. There is a moment when preparation ends and release begins, not abruptly, not dramatically, but unmistakably. A feeling of inevitability replaces uncertainty. Resistance dissolves. Trust settles in. This is that moment. What is being released now is not just opportunity, but permission. Permission for expansion to remain. Permission for increase to stabilize. Permission for wealth to circulate through you without disruption. You are no longer negotiating with the idea of abundance. You are integrating it. And integration is permanent. From this point forward, what enters your life does so with purpose. Resources arrive aligned to responsibility. Opportunities appear aligned to capacity. Connections form aligned to direction. You do not need to prove worthiness. Approval has already occurred. What remains is embodiment. Embodiment is quiet. It does not rush. It does not announce. It simply operates. As you continue forward, trust the recalibration. Trust the pacing. Trust the subtle confirmations. They are not random. They are responses. Heaven does not tease. When it approves, it completes. And completion is now unfolding through you.